when you go in the float tank, maybe not every single time, but you're gonna have just epiphanies in how to deal with things and how to handle things. And what was it that you saw got triggered in him when you started, you know, going floating,
Yeah, I'm not sure about that, but I can because he'd be the best person to answer that. But I can say that for him, like I was at that high school age, he was buzzing as driven, mind racing, 1,000 miles a minute, getting his thoughts out there, and with a similar really fast speech, he slowed down a bit.
Yeah.
You can see it. He was less reactive at home. But in terms of for him, what what's meant to him,
No, but well, that's really the main point is you become less reactive, out of nowhere. You're really taking your time to digest life.
Yeah, and say it like this: that it's not like you become less reactive, but that it becomes more of a choice, a deliberate. Because if you think about this thing we talked about before about people perceiving, and that's all they do, they react based on those perceptions. And so if you can be in charge of that and make sure that what you actually see, using what you talked about, actually communicating with people and finding out, if you can see that that's what's actually happening, well, then you're not going to be thrown around by just because you think you saw something. You'd be more deliberate about it.
Yeah, of course. So, what is? I'm sooner or later I'm gonna take these mental art classes. Sooner or later, I promise you.
Right.
But what do you recommend as far as before I take that? Anything as far as educational wise, or like for the people that aren't ready yet? What would you say? Like, listen, read this and that'll help you, or take a look at this video. This will help you. Maybe prepare more because it's a big week. Listen, it's as crazy as it sounds. I still white knuckle before I go inside the float. Like I take a deep breath and I get ready to, and then I just close and
that is so interesting, and it's interesting, right? Because it's like we get people who hear about floating as I don't know what to say other than it's all good and it's great, and you're gonna get you're gonna reach inner peace in there and have all epiphany. And you know what? When you're in there, it's just you in there. The whole point of floating is there's no external stimulation, so you're in there with your own thoughts.
Yeah.
The good, the bad, the ugly, however you put it in those categories, they're in there with you. And so some of the things that you look at in the tank are things that I don't say they're just not working as for you. They're just not serving you well. So I think people are sometimes surprised. Like they'll come out, they'll have just great floats, and then they'll come out and they'll say, "Man, this was I was in there and I was thinking about this, and and I don't know where that came from, or it's been coming up again in my life." Over and over again. So the float experience is where we recommend people start, because that's where they start to get that awareness and kind of bring back or reinvigorate or reopen up an awareness that's already been with them their whole life. They're kind of getting back in touch with the kind of awareness that they already have in the deeper parts of thought, and then they come out, and like me, when I came out of the float tank, I was, well, maybe not the first time, but I was like, all right, what do I do now? How do I understand what happened, and how do I apply it so that, and I had a whole list of things, so that I'm not bumping my heads against my law partners, I'm not bumping heads against my wife, I'm being a better dad, and there was probably more on the list, but those were the three kind of big ones for me. And so that's where our seminars and classes come, because from there we build a language and understanding so that you can be deliberate about what you want to accomplish instead of being thrown around by those, you can call them, the early, the thoughts we put in when we were about this high.
It's a beautiful thing.
Yep.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks.
Love
you too, man.
The handshake down.
All right. Thanks all.